Maduro is not a Venezuelan patriot. He is a Cuban puppet. That's what he is.
Now at 6:02, President Trump speaking at FIU, addressing the crisis in Venezuela and urging military officials there to support the nation's self-declared interim president, Juan Guaidó.
Nicolas Maduro is rejecting President Trump's calls for a new day in Venezuela, calling the president's speech, quote, almost Nazi. President Trump pointed to Venezuela as an example of the dangers of socialism.
The president also saying if there is not a peaceful transition of power, all options are open. CBS 4's Rielle Creighton is live at FIU this morning. Rielle.
Well, to a very large and receptive crowd here at FIU, the president talked about getting blocked humanitarian aid to the people of Venezuela. He also delivered a rebuke of the Maduro regime and socialism. He flew in on Marine One, sight set on assuring Venezuelans that the U.S. is square in the corner of interim Venezuelan President Juan Guaidó.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce my husband, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
On the FIU campus, a large turnout eager to hear the president's message of support. It didn't take long for the president to toss this crowd the red meat they were looking for.
The people of Venezuela are standing for freedom and democracy, and the United States of America is standing right by their side.
The audience packed with Venezuelans, Cubans, Nicaraguans.
We're here to proclaim a new day is coming in Latin America. It's coming.
The president outlined the demise of socialist and communist governments that remain in Latin America.
The socialists have done in Venezuela all of the same things that socialists, communists, totalitarians have done everywhere that they've had a chance to rule. The results have been catastrophic.
Trump addressing the massive amount of humanitarian aid set to be sent into ravaged Venezuela, but is being blocked by the Maduro regime. He went right at the Venezuelan military, which remains in Maduro's hands.
You must not follow Maduro's orders to block humanitarian aid.
He said that all of the shots are being called not by Maduro, but by the Cuban government.
For a man controlled by the Cuban military and protected by a private army of Cuban soldiers. Maduro is not a Venezuelan patriot. He is a Cuban puppet. That's what he is.
The president promising this fired-up audience that now is the time to stamp out socialism in Latin America. And it starts with the Venezuelan people. Meantime, in Venezuela last night, Nicolas Maduro responding to the president's words aimed at him from Miami.
Hoy tuvo Donald Trump in Miami.
Today, Donald Trump in Miami, with his tired rhetoric, questioned the right of our free country to adopt the ideas of Christian human socialism instead of our socialism. Almost a Nazi-style speech to prohibit ideologies. Donald Trump wants to ban ideologies, political diversity, and wants to impose the unique thinking of the white supremacists in the White House. No, Venezuela will continue to diversify ideas. Venezuela will continue to be multicolored.
Well, Maduro has blocked U.S. humanitarian aid from entering the country. It's now stuck in Colombia. He did say yesterday that some 300 tons of humanitarian aid would be arriving from Russia to the country tomorrow. Live at FIU, Rielle Creighton, CBS 4 this morning.